Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Vlog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And today we're talking about Jon Kasdan, one of the writers for Solo, a Star Wars story. Didn't think that we would ever be talking about this film again, but Jon Kasdan, of course, ever being the person that he is, decided to tweet out on the release of many films coming out, most specifically Aquaman coming out this December, and wanted to ask a question. If Solo, a Star Wars story had been released in December instead of May, would it have been more successful? Short answer is probably not. I mean, I would say that you might have gotten a little bit more traction on it only because of the holiday season, more people being off of work, going to see the movie, but then you have to go back to the very fact that it went out on a weekend that people had a day off from work. It was a national holiday, and yet it still did not perform well. And so this is the reason why I'm kind of mixed in between these two responses, because for one, it does not change the fact that the movie is problematic. It does not change the fact that the movie went through production hell. The production budget got ballooned to what, $350 million plus possibly, maybe not including marketing cost, and then it only made $400 million and only got 60% of that, so it lost around $100 to $200 million at the box office. So even if it had come out now, I don't really think it would have really changed that number. I think it would still have been a flop. I don't think that it would have made more than $450 million. Like it may have made an extra $50 to $100 million, but it really is hard to say at this point. And to me, this is Jon Kasdan just kind of trying to distract away from the current narrative, which is that Star Wars is in a very dangerous state. Right now, we've got, as my video said yesterday, we have an amazing fan-made film coming out from Star Wars Theory. You know, that's something that's worth talking about. And we don't really have anything worth talking about yet coming out from Disney Star Wars, because what do we have? We have The Last Jedi, which is probably one of the worst Star Wars films ever made, maybe even one of the worst films ever made. Of course, I would not go that far as to say it's one of the worst films ever made, only because of respect and out of respect for the visual effects department, who did an amazing job. And this is something that I will say. The one thing I will defend about The Last Jedi is the fact that the visual effects department did an excellent, outstanding job. So I wouldn't say it's the worst of all time, merely out of respect for them and the work that they do. So kudos to you guys. But as far as Solo is concerned, this is also a film that's just meh. I mean, it's a C-level movie. It's nothing special. It's not terrible. It's not worse than Last Jedi. It's at least a little bit more consistent as far as its narrative is concerned. It doesn't jump all over the place and doesn't make stupid plot points that don't make any sense. Of course, it does make stupid plot points that don't make any sense, but not nearly to the extent as The Last Jedi does. For example, his name just being Solo because he has no last name, which is one of the dumbest decisions that they could ever made. It really points to the fact that Disney just wants to try to explain everything instead of letting certain things be ambiguous, like letting Han's past be a question mark, letting the origin of Anakin Skywalker be a question mark as well. Even though that one I'm a little bit more excited about, just because it does open up a lot of possibilities with Palpatine and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I just don't think that this would have made much of a difference nonetheless. But let's actually go to the words of Jon Kasdan. Jon Kasdan says, "Hard not to wonder how Solo might have fared if it had come out tonight." Well, if it had come out tonight, then it would have gone directly against Aquaman. And if that had been the case, guess what would have won? Aquaman. Aquaman would have kicked its ass. And the reason why is because even though one could say that the proximity to The Last Jedi is what affected and hurt Solo, which I firmly believe, I think that because it came out 6 months after The Last Jedi and people were still pissed off about The Last Jedi, even more so, I would say, than they are now. People are still pissed, but I feel like it's not nearly as the same level as it was 6 months ago. I still firmly believe that even with that being the case, though, people still would not have forgotten. Most people would still not have forgotten The Last Jedi, and more people would say, you know what, I want to go have a really good time with Aquaman than I do with Solo, a Star Wars story. So it's interesting that he tries to make this argument. He says The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and even Rogue One all released in December holiday window, a time when Disney usually dominates the box office, thanks in part to the extended winter break. Solo bucked the trend, releasing in May, just a few months after Rian Johnson's controversial Episode 8, The Last Jedi. And I think that that's probably the main reason why it didn't do as well. It also has to do with the film itself. It also has to do with the fact that Jon Kasdan came out and said, Lando Calrissian's pansexual, everybody, which everyone was just like, wait, what? Oh, so that's what you're bringing into this movie? I have no interest in seeing that. So I mean, there's so many different factors. It's the writing of the story. It's the way that it was marketed, because some people say, oh, it's just because of bad marketing. It was not well marketed. That is a true statement. The marketing for Solo was not good. With all of that being said, though, marketing is not always the end-all, be-all answer as to why a film didn't do well. Look, for example, to some of the biggest projects that have ever come out from Disney. Look to one of the second biggest flop this year from Disney, which would have been the Nutcracker film, Nutcracker in the Four Realms. That film had very good marketing. In fact, the trailer did not look bad at all. The trailer was very well done, in my opinion. I thought it was, you know, It was a passable trailer. It wasn't the best trailer of all time, but it also wasn't a bad trailer either. And guess what? That film didn't make money because it wasn't a good movie. People didn't want to go see it, and the word of mouth spread. Same thing happened with Solo. People went to go see it. People had a mixed reaction on it, and people said, you know what? Then I have no interest in going to see it. Not just because of my hatred for The Last Jedi, which again is a major part of it. And anyone that tries to say that it's not a major part of it is just being ignorant of fact. But at the same time, too, there were the people who maybe didn't hate The Last Jedi who said, you know what? I have no interest in seeing this because I don't really care about Han Solo's origin. They started to hear about, oh wait, his name got changed to Solo because he had no family. That's stupid. And they started to hear all of these things that were being revealed and all these spoilers from the movie itself, and they thought to themselves, why would I want to go see this? Why would I want to go see a performance from a guy who is not Harrison Ford, who isn't even really trying to be Harrison Ford, who has maybe small moments of being Han Solo, the actual character that we know and love, and they didn't want to see it. It wasn't enough. It just was not enough. It was like them throwing a bone at the audience and saying, oh, look, here's a story that we know you don't want, but hey, at least it's a movie to hold you over, right? And for the people saying Star Wars fatigue is the problem, no, it's not. If there was someone competent running Lucasfilm right now, that wasn't Kathleen Kennedy, if there was someone competent running it right now, you could release a Star Wars film every 6 months. You could release 5 or 6 different series and they all do well and receive critical acclaim. But you require someone who needs to know what they're doing. She might be good with money, though it's very hard to see that at times because of just how much money Solo lost, for example. But she might be good as being the person that's in charge of, you know, allocating money to certain movies, etc. as a producer. That might be true. I don't really have proof of that yet, but I'll buy it. I will buy that. But that doesn't mean that you're a creative powerhouse. That does not mean that you have the ability to be the head of a company and essentially be the head of creative. And somebody might say, well, she's not really the head of creative because she's got the story group and all these other groups that are supporting her. Yet she's the one that fired Lord Miller. She's the one that helped balloon the budget of Solo: A Star Wars Story to the point where it was impossible for them to ever hope to make it back, whether it had released in May like it did or if it had been released in December. Because even with the difference of date, and even though movies tend to do well over the Christmas season, there are still plenty of examples of movies coming out over Christmas that don't do nearly as well as they thought and were expected to do. One, again, good example of that is a movie that came out in November that's not even out in theaters anymore. And that is, of course, the one I just talked about, Nutcracker in the Four Realms. That was a film that Disney expected and thought was going to be able to start in November and carry itself all the way through December. Just like another movie called The Grinch, which I'm going to be talking about probably till the end of time, because the film still ends up in the top 5 at least for the weekends, because people want to go see a Christmas movie, and it's a classic tale that they know and love, and it's got decent reviews, or it's got decent word of mouth at the very least. It doesn't really have good reviews from critics, but still it's got good enough reviews from audiences and from the basic understanding that audiences have, that they're able to say, you know what, yeah, I want to go see this, I want to go have fun. Solo would not have been that film, no matter what time of the year it had been released in, because it still would have been in the very large, ominous shadow of Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and it still would be a mediocre film at best, competing against other films like Aquaman, which, despite my own thoughts about Aquaman, would easily destroy Solo at the box office. But anyway, that's just my thought on this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. It helps me out a lot. You're amazing, beautiful people. And guys, Jon Kasdan, I mean, I honestly don't know whether it's a front or not, because he has reached out and talked to me when I called him out on certain things, and he seems to be very cordial. I mean, I don't know if it's true. I don't know if he is that kind of person or if he's just trying to play an act. I honestly don't know. But don't attack him. You know, don't go out of your way to attack the guy. Unless, of course, he comes at you, then, of course, come right back at him, because at that point, it's fair game. But if he's just there saying these comments, try and be respectful, but at the same point, still call him out for the damn pansexual nonsense. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day, and as always, God bless.